All right,
Well,
Rebecca, you gonna tell us who we've got today?
yes, obviously, I'm so excited. So, I want everyone to meet Nancy Bigley, Chief Operating Officer of Painting with a Twist. It's a franchise concept that pairs hands on painting parties with wine. How you can't go wrong with that, right? And it provides a carefree escape for women. Painting with a Twist currently has 280 locations within their network. Prior to Painting with a Twist, Nancy was CEO and co-founder of her own paint and sip brand, Bottle and Bottega. So Nancy's been involved in franchising since 1991, working in franchisee operations, leadership roles for brands such as Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins, American League Tactician, and of course, the Dwyer Group, which now is the Neighborly Brands. Nancy's very involved in the International Franchise Association, and she volunteers her time as a mentor to other new franchisors through the organization's Friendship Program and is the past chair of Women's Franchise Committee. So I met Nancy in 2009 or 2010 at an IFX event where she acted as a franchise shark judge. So I knew at that time Nancy Bigley was gonna be Bigley. So welcome, Nancy. We're thrilled to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I love that. I hadn't heard that before, but thank you. That's awesome.
So I stole it from Donald Trump. I hope you don't mind.
Don't mind at all.
Oh, Elizabeth, let's toss it to you to ask Nancy our first question, because I know we have a list a mile long for her.
Well, we do. And to start with, we talked to Richard Lavelle, who works with you a few weeks ago, who was delightful and gave a great answer about what it's like to work with a whole lot of women. And his answer related to women being more able to focus on work when they're at work and home when they're at home, and just get it done so that they can, put their day together appropriately. How do you think it is working? I know you have a mostly female team. So what is your response to Richard? Do you agree that that's the way women present themselves, particularly in your organization? I thought he gave a great answer.
Yeah, that is a great answer. Poor Richard. Yeah, he's definitely overpowered in our company for sure, but he's amazing. He does a great job of balancing us all out. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I don't know, we hope so, right? Like we hope that we're more focused and more organized and able to sort of multitask. I definitely, know with our group, we're a big group of multitaskers, but I also, I have a male on my team and he's a pretty good multitasker too. So, I think it just comes with the job. When you got a lot on your plate, you just got to figure it out, right? But yeah, I'd say he's probably pretty spot on.
Well, and when we talked to you the other day to get ready for this interview, we talked about the fact that you all often have to coach men in working with women, how women think differently, how they analyze things differently, how they make decisions differently, that kind of thing. So tell me a little bit about that. What kind of coaching do you do to help men better work seamlessly with women?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think, again, I've always approached my leadership role and thinking like I'm just a leader. I'm not male, I'm not female. I mean, I am female, obviously, but I don't there's any particular traits. But then when I really started thinking about it, I'm like, well, I think there are some. I definitely think we lead more with emotionally and not in a dramatic way, but just in a maybe more thoughtful way. We're a little bit more collaborative and, we want to think about how it might, how our decisions might affect other people. I do see that of myself. I see that of my counterparts and of people on my team. I definitely think I know, again, I'll put this back on me. Like I definitely will overthink things sometime. Like, God, should I do that differently? Or maybe I came across a little wrong. And my girlfriend leaders, we talk about this all the time going, do you think men sit around and say that? And go, I should have handled that differently. Maybe I was a little too hard on them. And, so I think for women, we tend to do that, but I think it also makes us great collaborators, right? Like we want to collaborate. We want the team, we're definitely more about teams and teamwork. And I think that's again, not that men aren't, but I think that's just a natural strength for women, and as women leaders, and it's a great trait, I think. So, but it can do a little mental damage to us, I think, sometimes more than it really needs to, but.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do think that is a more of a feminine trait, to be collaborative and try to build consensus, and to have folks feel like they're part of something bigger, which of course it's sometimes difficult when you're collaborating and trying to build consensus, because consensus isn't easier, especially the bigger your team gets and the more franchisees you have. Not everyone's going to agree on everything. So you still have to make decisions and lead, and at the same time try to, pull people in and get that full and total agreement. So this collaborative environment that you have created, are there things as a leader, as a franchisor, that you do to reward collaboration, that you do to encourage collaborations, not just with your team, but also with your franchisees?
I think that, definitely, I think we can do a better job at that. I think I can personally do a better job at that. I mean, we definitely try to celebrate wins. So it's not, we also like creating contests and competition, but I think sometimes you have to be careful that that doesn't discourage teamwork, right? So like individual recognition is great. We started when COVID happened. We've obviously, as all of our counterparts have had to do, just really shifted gears. And one of the things we implemented was daily video calls like this with our franchisees. We had already been doing video, so they were used to it. We just cranked it up and we did it every day because there was just so much changing every day. And what we started doing on Fridays is having happy hour, but it also was a lighter day. And we would, my boss, Joe Lewis, our CEO, implemented this. So it's tell me something good. And so, trying to get away from just the morbidity of what we were dealing with and just say, look, like there's good things happening too. Like share something, whether it's personal or business, like something good that happened this week that you want to share with everyone else. And it really, I think those types of ways to just celebrate the little things, even, it doesn't always have, some of them were big, but sometimes it was just little. Someone's kid graduated from high school, and and I think that sort of celebration and being able to celebrate together is a great way, to sort of, again, create collaboration, create a great culture, and get people focused on, that there's good things happening. It's not always bad. I tend to always, I'm a real strong driver of everything, and so I'm constantly like, what can be better? What can we do here? What can we do there? And I have to pause a lot and go, wait a minute, we have to celebrate too. And it's not easy to do that when you're just rolling really fast, and especially with what's going on right now. Sometimes you feel guilty celebrating, honestly, when things are bad. So I think we were also trying to be super sensitive to that. Like we didn't want to be like, oh my God, everything's amazing, when it's not, right? But we also need to get out of that dark place and start looking for the light.
Hang on.
Yeah, we're having some
technical challenges.
Yeah, hopefully the fire did not get Fred.
All right.
Yeah, he's in that area. It's kind of scary.
We were watching him on social media yesterday, worried about him in the fire, and he just clearly lost power and got it back. So if we have some technical difficulties, we're just going to go with it. But to your point, Nancy, I think that Rebecca and I start the show off with Roses and Thorns, and we used to do that with our kids when they were younger. And to me, rose and thorn, best and worst parts of your day, that kind of thing, not only does it focus you on the positive when you're just doing tell me something good, but it also sparks conversation, because now you know something maybe personally about someone that you're working with that you may not have known before. And it may give you an insight into who they are and what they're doing every day. And to me, those little tiny nuggets, it works with our kids because, they go through phases where they don't talk a lot when they're teenagers. But when you're working in a professional setting where people may or may not share as much, that kind of opens the door to a little bit of more intimacy, I think, and in a time where everything is very stressful, don't you? What do you say?
Yeah, look, every time I'm, dealing with a difficult situation, I always pause and go, okay, look, like if somebody's being really aggressive or unreasonable, and I really try hard, and this comes with wisdom, right, as you get older, because I certainly wasn't like this in my earlier leadership days, but I try to pause and just go, there's probably something happening with this person. I really try to give the benefit of the doubt and go, there might be something happening in their life I don't know about. This is not their normal protocol. Like maybe there was a landmine that I stepped on that triggered something that, happened. So and then I want to try to get to the root of it and wait until things calm down and then address it head on and just try to move through it. So yeah, I think those little things are very insightful into people and how they think and what their triggers are. And we know when people are under stress, I think we talked about this the other day too, when you're under stress, it's you either rise to the challenge or you sort of crumble under the pressure. And everybody has moments in the last 3 months where we've crumbled and cried and screamed and yelled, even the best of leaders. And, you just got to be able to do that and then move on. But some people just can't handle stress that well. And you've got to find a way to help get them to where they need to go and get into a safe place. And it does take a little bit of digging and prodding and, but eventually you get there, I think.
Which requires that relationship, that these aren't just franchisees, these aren't just team members and employees. They're people with real dreams and goals and talents and fears and concerns. So it requires a head as well as a heart, where we understand that this is what this individual is going through, and thus this behavior, and what can we do to, like you said, make them feel safe, or if not safe, heard, understood, right? Sometimes we just need to be
and I've tried to coach all of my franchise teams over the years on, like, you don't really know what it's like to have the pressure of being a small business owner until you've been a small business owner. And I ran company-owned operations for years. And I thought, and I really did have a very good perspective because I'm a very hands-on leader. And so I get in there and I do it. I did the plumbing, I did the electrical, I did all that stuff. I wanted to understand it. But until I actually owned my own business and my personal savings was on the line and my time and, just all of those things that happen. And you have moments where you're stressing about payroll and rent and, until you live through that, it's really hard to understand the level of anxiety and stress and disappointment and all those things that go through a small business owner's brain, failure and all those things that ultimately you get out of because you're an entrepreneur and you just muscle through it. But for us to coach and support our franchisees properly, like, it's really important to be able to understand, like, look, if they're grumpy this week, like, put yourself in their shoes and understand, like, these are the things that they're having to deal with. And it makes some of the things that we're trying to talk to them about just seem trivial and silly because they're dealing with much bigger things. And it's very easy to lose perspective.
And it's very personal, right? It's very personal when your livelihood is on the line, your reputation is on the line, your future is on the line. This is very personal for them. But, it's interesting you're talking about the grumpy a little bit this week. I had that experience early on with the COVID. I had like 3 or 4 days, and normally I'm lighthearted, and I was just like, kind of grumpy with my team. And I said, what the heck is wrong with me? But it's my company, my business on the line, and I had 5,000 decisions to make that my team wasn't aware of. And sure enough, sometimes that makes us a little bit overwhelmed, grumpy, worried, whatever, some of the words that you talk about. And so I love that you have a heart for your franchisees and know, as a franchisor, we're gonna adapt, we're gonna change, we're gonna do what's necessary, and we're gonna be in your corner. But we also want you to know we understand what you're going through, because you are and have been a hands-on leader, so you know what they're going through.
Yeah, and I don't think oftentimes franchisees do feel that their franchisors know, and it's true, right? For the most part, it's hard to put yourself in that position. But your point is super valid, and what we're dealing with right now, because I've found myself in those weeks or days as well, and I'm like, what is wrong with me? This is not my normal behavior. But we have so on when things are in crisis for our teams, for our franchisees. And, you know, at some point we need someone too, right? Like we need people to be able to just go, I need to cry, or I need to just yell, or I need to vent. I need to like get this negative energy out because I got to get refocused again. And I think, you know, self-awareness is a huge attribute that I try to be very mindful of. And I think, you know, as women leaders, we are pretty self-aware also. And I think that serves us so well because, you know, you can't keep pushing through the mess if you don't know when you've hit your wall, and you readjust. And I have an amazing network that I've put together of that are now friends, but business leaders that I can go to depending on what my crisis is at the moment. So I need perspective, like, because I don't know if I'm in that space right now, and I get my perspective and then I get recentered and then I'm back on track again. And that has been like the biggest thing that I have learned over the years is like that network is so valuable. And in particular, when you're going through crisis like we are right now, like you've got to have a team outside of your company, because you can't complain to your team because you're supposed to be lifting them. So I can't know like how I'm feeling and how stressed out I am, but you've got to have a group that can be honest and go like, okay, I've heard this twice, get over it. Like we're not talking about this again, and go, okay, I got it. Or just give you some little reminder advice that you can go, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, like I can get recentered, because we're not doing anybody any good, right? When we're in those phases, and you don't want to stay in them too long.
Well, it's so true, and I think that applies to so many things, because when I wrote my my dating book, I called those people who lacked self-awareness those who fail to embrace their own reality, because I think there are a lot of people out there who do that. They don't recognize their issues or other people's or what's going on in their own life. And we touched on this the other day as well, and I wanted to bring this back a little bit to leadership and in that same concept. Those of us who fail to embrace our own reality, and maybe question ourselves. You talked about, did I overanalyze? Did I say that right? Did I make the right decision? And the imposter syndrome that some of us struggle with in terms of that, and not embracing the fact that you're a great leader, you're doing a good job, you're doing the best you can. Nobody can predict something like this. There's no playbook for COVID, you know? So talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, and how do you overcome? Do you feel that way sometimes? And if you do, how do you overcome that?
Always. I always overanalyze and go, dang it, I handled that. I could have done better. I you know, because again, I'm a driver, and I'm very direct, and I don't pause enough sometimes to just go, how are you doing? Like, are you okay? And, you know, I still struggle with that. And it's certainly not that I don't care. I care about my team tremendously. But I'm just always looking at the 100 things that we've got to get done. Yeah. The repercussions if we don't execute well, and it's all of the franchisees, right, are the repercussions of if we don't get it right. And so I just hold that pressure. And so I'm constantly, you know, almost every day, just analyzing my day, not over analyzing, but just going, all right, like, was it a good day? Was it a bad day? Like, did I have wins? Did I have misses? What could I do better? How could I have handled things different? I try to really stop myself from over processing. So I'm very self-aware of that now. So if I catch myself just going over and over, because like I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't, you know, like, and like I work too many hours that I have to get my sleep. And so I had to really readjust so that when I laid my head down, like I could detach my brain and actually, you know, get recharged again. So yeah, I mean, I do feel like an imposter a lot of days, and think like, gosh, you know, get back on your game, or where are you going and what are you doing? And but I also, you know, again, I measure that against people who will be truthful with me and go, are you kidding me? Like, you did blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I did. And so you kind of need that perspective so you don't derail yourself. But again, I think that's where the network is helpful. But I don't want people to just say, oh my God, you're amazing. And I'm like, no, be truthful with me. Like, I want to know, like, yeah, you could have handled that different, or yeah, you came across a little aggressive. If I come out of a meeting or a presentation, or, you know, if we're on with franchisees, like I will link back in with my boss or, you know, our CMO and say, did that come across bad, or somebody on my team? Like, did I come across as being a little too aggressive? Like, I really do want to know. It doesn't mean I I fix it forever, because nobody's that perfect.
Yeah.
But I really do want to improve always. And I feel like as leaders, we never stop learning and growing and making mistakes. I mean, I try to really create an environment, and I don't know that I'm doing a great job at that all the time either, but I do want to create an environment of like, please make mistakes. Like, that's how we learn. Like, just be truthful about it. Like, don't lie to me about it. Don't try to cover it up. Like, if we make a mistake, we got to own it and go, well, okay, why did that happen? Was it our thought process? Was it, we didn't, we delegated too much, we didn't check enough? Like, there's a reason why the mistake happened, and we just learn from it. So the next time we have to analyze and plan and execute, hopefully we don't make that mistake because we've added that extra little piece in there that maybe we forgot the first time. So
yeah, you bring up some really powerful points. I think this imposter syndrome is common for many leaders, especially women leaders, and the way you've balanced that is some self-assessment, right? Some honest self-assessment, and then reaching out to your network, some that are steps ahead of you, some that are same where you are, that are giving you feedback, to give you honest feedback. And then the third thing, which is encouraging others and yourself to try things and make mistakes. That's how we learn. That it's this perfectionistic attitude is oftentimes the core of an imposter syndrome, that I don't measure up, I'm not perfect yet. So by just knowing we have to make boo-boos, we have to make mistakes and grow, allows us to get out of that space. It says, it's interesting, there's a lot of cultures now out there that are actually encouraging employees to take more risks and make more mistakes. They're rewarding the mistake because it shows the willingness to take a risk.
Yeah, it's a tough one to communicate though, because I'm constantly telling my team, like, it's okay to make mistakes, or it's okay to tell me that I screwed up, and they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, no, I mean it really. And but again, you got to think back, like, well, have I responded in a way that doesn't make them feel safe? But I think it's hard for people to feel safe to admit mistakes, to admit they don't know something. Everybody wants to make you proud, and they don't want to admit that they don't know something. And it's my constant challenge is, how do I better make my team feel safe? So that they don't have to worry about making mistakes. And I know a lot of it is my reaction to it, because I do get mad sometimes and like, gosh, how could that have happened? We've talked about it 5 times. Because I also say, like, look, make mistakes, but don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again. Right. So I have to really check my reactions, when they happen, because I don't want to say something but then react in a way that is counterintuitive to sort of what I'm saying. So, it's a constant improvement.
Yeah, for all of us. But you're right, there's this wonderful balance of encouraging people to take risk, and it's okay to make mistakes, but don't make that same mistake 1,000 times. Yeah. If you're making it that many times, you haven't learned from it.
That's just being reckless, right? And lazy. Yeah, agreed.
Completely different problem.
Yeah, completely different problem.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about, you've touched on some things that you've been through during COVID, and I know Painting with a Twist, when we talked to Richard, he mentioned some of the pivots that you were able to do in terms of curbside pickup or kits by mail, that kind of thing. I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about, in general, the empowerment that you offer as one of the goals of Painting with a Twist, to empower particularly women to be business owners, to have something that's their own, and that kind of thing. So if you can speak to those things, that would be great.
Yeah, I think our business is so exciting for a lot of different reasons, but I think the way it's allowed women to who never thought they would be business owners to become business owners. And we have several really amazing success stories where we've had artists or managers within our franchisee studios who have gone on to either buy those locations or buy a neighboring location, or a location even in another state, and have been extremely successful. And those are exciting stories to me, because it's opportunity. And I think, you know, I've been, you know, given amazing opportunities in my career. I mean, they weren't given to me. I was worked my butt off to be put in positions to be offered opportunities that I took advantage of in a good way and learned from and grew. And I feel like that's what Painting with a Twist is, you know, allowing. It's allowing people who want to work hard, who want to learn, who, you know, want to just grit it out and just, you know, really learn and grow to do it. And that's exciting. Like, I think it's just empowering and exciting to see and hear the stories of, you know, these women and men too, because we have some amazing, amazing men in our system. And so I don't want to neglect them. But some amazing people in our brand that, you know, I'm sure maybe would have had those opportunities in other brands, but I feel like it's not only an opportunity, but it's really where their passion is. And art is an area that you don't often get opportunities for big growth, right? And to own businesses. And usually it's sort of a side passion that you're lucky if you get to make a little bit of money from. And so to be able to have a business in the arts that, you know, you can bring this amazing joy to people. And most women too are very passionate about giving back to their communities. And that's always a very big attraction for our franchisees is they want purpose. It's not about the money. Certainly, you know, you want to be able to make money in your business, but it's more about them being able to provide opportunities for their communities and the people in it and to give back and to be able to provide opportunities for, you know, younger people in their communities to have jobs and to be able to maybe one day own their own studio. And I think our brand is amazing in that way. And it's you know, it makes it fun for sure.
It does indeed. So I actually had one more question, but I want to make sure we are okay with time here.
I think we are.
We're good? Okay.
I think we're good, yeah. Let's do the one.
So the question I had is, you are indeed a champion of women and a champion of business owners. You always step up in leadership roles. So did this come naturally, or did you have folks that you feel, male or female, that have championed you in your growth through the world of franchising?
Yeah, I mean, both. I think I've always had, you know, my first memory of, you know, sort of entrepreneurship was, I think I was 3 or 4, and I vividly remember it. My sister and I were in our neighborhood, and I picked flowers out of a neighbor's garden and then proceeded to go to her door and sell it back to her. Barry Vandercheck had shared that he did that same thing, so I was like, good, I'm in good company. I thought it was my own story, but apparently he did it too. Yeah, and I was like, what possessed me to do that at 3 or 4 years old? And so I did all sorts of little things like that to make money. So I always had this sort of drive to do something, right? And then as I, you know, again, just started in my journey after college to what am I going to do with my life? And I stumbled into franchising and at American Leak Detection, and I just was wanting to do something different and new. And my boss, Dick Rennick, was the founder, and we were very small. And he was my champion and just, you know, saw something in me. And I'm a big proponent of volunteer for as many things as you can. Like, if you want to learn, you got to just jump in and do it, and not because you're going to get paid more, because this is college. Like, to me, like, my work experience was the best degree that I ever received. And so I was constantly like, hey, I have an idea on this, or hey, like, if you need somebody to lead that up, I'm happy to do it. Like, and I would jump in, not overly so, like, you had to be really careful about that. You don't want to take on too much and then fail. But, you know, I wanted to try everything to find out. Look, I was in my 20s. I didn't know what I was I wanted to try it all to see, like, where do I naturally gravitate to? And he, you know, really was a big fan of, like, sure, you can do it. Like, just get me the results and you can, I'm happy with that. And so that's how I really, you know, that was, you know, when you have that support at a young age, you know, it's really important. And then he really was the one that introduced me. He's very active in IFA. So he introduced me to a lot of my friends and now mentors and different people that I still connect with now and learned, you know, law from, and, you know, all the different aspects of franchising. I learned from amazing people that had, you know, grown up in it and had that experience. And You know, I always tell people, you know, as I talk about leadership or talk about, you know, just things to think about, it's like, you know, be at a company where you do have a champion. I've had every company I've been at, I've had an amazing boss who continued to allow me to try things that I love to learn. So I was constantly like, let me try that. Let me see if I can do it. And they allowed me to fail. They allowed me to make mistakes. I felt safe. I felt like I was in an environment of being safe. So if I was in over my head, I could go back and go, you know what, I'm in over my head. I don't think I'm the right person here, but look, I have a solution for you. Here's somebody who can do it better. And I think you need to be in an environment like that. And if you're not, then it might not be the right company for you, because ultimately, you know, you can get stuck somewhere. And if you don't have people that are going to allow you to grow and do different things and try different things, you got to participate though. Like you got to, you know, you ultimately have to get the results, and you have to listen and learn and let your guard down and not be defensive and really, you know, make changes. But I was very lucky to have, you know, really amazing people in my life that I was able to really learn from and get introduced to other people that could help me grow too. So,
Wow. Wow.
Well, we are about out of time, Nancy. Oh, absolutely. You already are. I can tell. But tell people how they can reach you if they wanted to get a hold of you after hearing your interview today.
Yeah, my email is nancy.bigley@paintingwithatwist.com. It's super long, but it's fairly easy. So
easy to remember for sure.
Easy to remember.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We could have talked to you for hours probably, but you had a lot of great insights. I think it's important for women in business to hear these things, and it's important for younger women coming up thinking about business ownership. So hopefully these conversations will inspire other people to join in.
Yeah, thank you. It was great talking with you, ladies. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nancy.
We'll talk to you again soon, and we will be right back after this next commercial.